All right, Nick, let's talk about the Oklahoma Sooners fresh off of a absolute shellacking of Iowa State. A 50-point game by Oklahoma. They're looking really good. 5-0. They're looking like one of the top contenders in the Big 12 and frankly in all of college football. And when you're that good, Nick, it starts to draw some attention. Not now, but even further into the future. And we have a report today about a new recruit giving his commitment to Oklahoma. I think this is going to be a big one. Let's get into the story. We'll talk about it on the other side. But Nick, this is from On3 Sports. Of course, Hayes Fawcett over at On3 Sports. All the greatest recruiting news. Go give them a follow if you want the latest and greatest on recruiting news. It says the class of 2026. Yes, I said that right. 2026 running back Jonathan Hatton Jr. of San Antonio, Texas, Steele High School, announced his commitment to Oklahoma Tuesday afternoon. The 6'1", 203-pounder chose the Sooners over Texas Tech, Nebraska, and Vanderbilt. The Lone Star State running back is the first commitment in Coach Brent Venables in the Sooners 2026 class. Hatton ranks as the number 51 player in the On3 industry ranking. He also tabs in as the number 5 running back and the number 4 player in the state of Texas, which obviously is just like Florida, has tons of great talent. So making yourself the number 4 player in the state of Texas, very, very commendable. But Nick, I think this is big for Oklahoma. Getting a big running back recruit this early and getting a guy is close but still out of state. I think this is a big statement because you always go after your big guys in state early on. But if you're able to score a top out of state prospect this early, I think this is speaking volumes for what people are thinking about this Oklahoma team. I think they're a real contender and is making noise around the recruiting realm. But Nick, before I get your thoughts on everything Oklahoma, everything running back commitment, I want to ask the fans, we all know, big game coming up. You're going to play Texas, probably the biggest game of the year for you. This is going to be the absolute defining point of Oklahoma's season this season. Give us your predictions in the comment section below. What do you think the score of Oklahoma, Texas is going to be in the comment section below? But Nick, what are your thoughts on this and what does this mean for Oklahoma?
So anytime any news breaks, anytime a team makes a move like getting a commitment like this in Oklahoma's case, I think the timing of it really matters. And you brought it up right there with what you asked, the call to action, what you asked people to comment on in terms of course, the rivalry game this weekend, right? That's what everyone is focusing on in terms of the media. That's what everyone is focusing on when it comes from the Texas side. And certainly a lot of people are focusing on that from the Oklahoma side as well. But you always need to be focusing long term as well. That's how you build dynastic programs and win multiple national titles. That's what Dabo Swinney did with Clemson. He didn't just focus on having one good year and then just see where the chips fall. He built, great recruiting class after great recruiting class after great recruiting class and built on it. And before you know it, they had won 2 national titles, went to multiple college football playoffs. The Alabama Crimson Tide under Nick Saban, when he first showed up at Tuscaloosa, his priority was recruiting. He knew it would take a few years, but sure enough, it eventually did, and they became the dynasty. Georgia and Kirby Smart followed that same footprint. You know who's not following that footprint? Texas and Coach Sarkisian right now. The entire strategy with Texas, and look, they look good this year. No denying that. We'll see how this weekend's game turns out. But I tell you what, they're basically all in on this year, and in the future when they join the SEC, they're hoping Arch Manning becomes like the next great Manning quarterback, which he certainly could, but that's their entire strategy. What is Oklahoma doing? They're focusing on the out years. Right now, if you look at the 2024, again, focusing on the recruiting class in the future, Oklahoma is number 7, Texas, by comparison, number 15. Again, who's focusing on the long term? How about we go to 2025? Oklahoma right now has the number 4 class in the 2025 recruiting class. Texas, 28. Again, who's focusing on the long term? How you win national titles, it takes years in advance. You go all in on one season. Every once in a while, it magically works out like they did with the LSU Tigers and Joe Burrow. But in reality is that just doesn't happen very much. You just have to get lucky. Texas is all in this year. Oklahoma, they obviously are pretty good this year. They got a lot of talent. We'll see how this game against Texas comes out. I honestly think they have a good chance of beating Texas. But even if they don't, they're set up great for the long term. And that's what I think Sooners fans should be really excited about. This is not short-term thinking from Venables and company. This is long-term thinking. And this move right here, getting this commitment at the time when almost everybody else is focused on just the game itself, focusing on building the long-term program by getting commitments, this is the best sign yet that Venables under Oklahoma will be returning to national title games.
Yeah, Nick. And how about getting a kid from Texas going into the game versus Texas. Getting a guy out of their own backyard, it's got to be, almost like a little bit of a dig going Red River Shootout. You grab one of the top running backs in the state of Texas away from a team like Texas. They might not even have their eyes on this kid. I think Oklahoma, like you said, they're thinking leaps and bounds ahead of everybody. They are focusing on the future. They always are also obviously have a great here and now as well. But this is a team, like you said, focusing on the future, and they're able to sneak into Texas and steal a kid right out of their own backyard. I think this is big for Venables and Co., as you said. I think this could be huge going forward for the program.
And just, I think you highlighted something there that I really want to focus on. San Antonio, where this recruit is obviously from, the San Antonio area, that's 80 miles from Austin for people who aren't familiar with the geography of Texas. So this is literally Texas's backyard. You know what this reminds me of, Miles? We both live in the state of South Carolina. This reminds me in the early areas of the Dabo Swinney when he started stealing recruits from Steve Spurrier when he was the head coach at South Carolina. And then Dabo Swinney started getting Tennessee recruits as well. Again, it takes a few years for all these things to play out, but right now the strategy is smart and it's working for the Oklahoma Sooners.